Hey everyone, welcome to 3 Beers Deep for April 20th. Wow, we are only 2 months away from E3. That is wild. That's also terrifying. 3 Beers Deep is my weekly Q&A show where you can send questions to patrickklepek.tumblr.com and I might pick them out of here and answer them. I also answer questions on Tumblr, usually on a daily basis, so if it doesn't get answered here, you've got a chance that it might get answered there as well. So let's get to it. Let's start answering your questions. Why have I pooped? Oh, that's a great username. That's quality. Hold on. Let me just go ahead and drink this brown liquid coffee. Why have I pooped? Is that your question? I did do that this morning, and I did it because it's a bodily function. It makes you feel clean. Makes you feel lighter. Put a little oomph in your step in the morning. You want to do it before you run, because sometimes when you run, it kind of gets your stomach going, and if you don't take care of that ahead of time, it's not good. It's very uncomfortable. Or you have to find a bush. Why have I pooped ass? I've started wondering if I've gotten too jaded and cynical when I felt almost nothing after watching the new Star Wars trailer. How do you fight off cynicism? So I think there are two questions there. Are you cynical if you felt nothing during the new Star Wars The Force Awakens trailer? I don't think so. I think you may have a fondness for Star Wars. You may enjoy Star Wars. You may, in fact, love Star Wars. But not every franchise, not every series, not every character affects everyone in the same way. And maybe you don't have a world that impacts you that way. It's kind of it's similar to when people do or don't cry at films. Like the emotion that you attach to what you enjoy may just be different or weighted differently than what people attach to it. Plus, Star Wars, by being defining for a lot of people of a certain generation, means that there's a lot of emotion tied up into that. Often, I'll find when I watch certain media that ends up impacting me in some way, if it's really emotional, it might not have anything to do with the characters or the storylines. It might have more to do with what I was doing at that time in my life. Was there something psychologically tied to that period in which hearing this music or seeing this character brings back all of that? It's impossible for me to watch certain things without being reminded of my father or Ryan Davis. Deaths are something that sort of become ingrained and a part of ourselves, and watching certain media elicits emotions that way. So, I guess what I want to say is it's okay if you didn't cry during the Star Wars trailer. I didn't. I think it looks great. I think it looks awesome. I'm really excited about it. But I like Star Wars. I love Star Wars, but it doesn't hold that place for me. And I'm not sure if anything does. I'd have to give that some thought. Emotionally speaking, Jurassic Park I probably hold in the same reverence that people hold Star Wars, but I don't know if I have the same emotional attachment or it could elicit the same emotional response from me. As for fighting off cynicism, that's a good question, because I don't know if there's anything specific that you do. It's sort of an attitude. It's reminding yourself of what cynicism is. I think it's recognizing cynicism and trying to find that fine line between what is wisdom, what is cynicism. I think there is a difference between the two, and often we conflate them in ways that I think as we get older, we tend to believe that what we're saying is wisdom when it's actually cynicism. And so I don't know, maybe hanging around young people, maybe seeking outside perspectives. I think there's a lot that goes into preventing yourself from becoming cynical, but I think it is one of the most important things you have to do as you get older. Other than body maintenance, it's becoming cynical can be just a nightmarish landscape that it's hard to get out of, and you can convince yourself of a lot of things. Good question. Alzrian, I just read both your and Maddie Meyer's transcripts from the University of Northern Iowa. He's referencing a short talk that is a little bit, so if you scroll down a little bit on patrickklepek.tumblr.com or look for the hashtag blog on my Tumblr, and you'll come up with the little talk that I gave. No, I'll let him continue. I have to say, myself, I haven't always been the most unbiased when it comes to people with different sexual orientations. I never thought this made me a bigot. I was nice to everyone, and honestly, the area in which I live isn't very diverse. However, your articles and Samantha Coleman's appearances on Giant Bomb have given me a different perspective. Even if we are outwardly nice to everyone, just recognizing someone as a label and not as a person belittles yourself just as much as it does them. I just want to say how much I appreciate your work. I'm overjoyed that you have elicited such a positive change in myself and others. That is incredibly kind for you to say, and really underscores a lot of the goals I had at Giant Bomb, especially in my latter 2 years working at the site, in which I just became sometimes overwhelmed and sometimes in awe of what was possible on that website, in which the community, people like yourself, other people watching this video, listening to this podcast, put such a trust in us. And I tried to take that responsibility seriously. And that was, why I introduced folks like Samantha or Zoe Quinn or Kara Ellison, people that I don't know if they would have appeared on the site if I hadn't done so. Not because anyone on the site is a bigot, not because of anything that insidious, but because it was a site of like close-knit people, and I was an outsider. And I thought, as a result of being an outsider, maybe I have a unique perspective in which I can bring other outsiders to this website to enrich it as well. And if I have any legacy of my time with Giant Bomb, I hope it is that. And it is comments like that, I didn't invite Samantha specifically because I was hoping to change the world and change people's views on transgender individuals. But if that happened along the way, because Centrist is a cool game and Samantha has interesting things to say about video games, man, that's pretty amazing. So thank you so much for that comment. It really does mean the world to me. And, for all the things I get told that I did or didn't do at that site, the Xbox DRM story, things like that, they're great. But stuff like that is really what stands the test of time. That what really underscores what was part of my talk, which is that, things like this are one person at a time. You open one person's eyes and maybe they open someone else's, and man, today's going to be a good day. I'm excited. Something like that, nothing can go wrong. Well, things could go wrong, but I'm starting on a high note, I guess is what I'm saying. Coffee sip. Crazy Carl 008. Hey Patrick, there seems to be a frustrating trend lately where developers and or publishers will swear up and down there are no plans for a PC version of their console game, and sure enough they announce it months later. I believe GTA 5, Rise, and Dead Rising 3 all pulled this stunt. Any idea what the reasoning on this sort of trickery is, such as the terms of the timed exclusive or something, or are they just messing with us for no good reason? P.S. Rest in peace, Bauman in the AM. Well, could be a lot of reasons, and you touch on them. I don't think we'll ever quite know the specifics of many of those, right? It's entirely possible that what underscores many of these is a desire to sell the most amount of copies of a version of the game without sacrificing the ability for people to potentially double dip on another version of the game. Or, so let's take these examples, and I think it'll illustrate them a little more clearly. So Dead Rising 3. That was a launch game for the Xbox One. Microsoft's interest is selling Xbox One hardware. Yes, they have an investment in the PC business through Windows, but the Xbox division specifically wants to move Xbox One units. And so while they may have included a clause for Capcom to be able to release a PC version of that game down the line, the reason it wasn't announced as such was because if a PC version was announced, that would take away potential sales from folks who own PCs that wanted to play Dead Rising, enjoyed Dead Rising 2 on the PC, and figured, hey, Dead Rising 3 is probably coming. By not announcing it, it means they might pick up a piece of Xbox One kit. So, is that reason to hold off sometimes on these game releases? Absolutely. Because that PC version of Dead Rising 3 came fairly quickly after the Xbox One version, unlike GTA 5, in which it was, a year and a half later. GTA 5, I have to imagine... it's a similar situation, but different, right? Whereas Microsoft funded Dead Rising 3, wants to funnel Xbox One units by maintaining an air of exclusivity. GTA 5 probably just didn't have the bandwidth to do the PC and console versions, or the console versions just sell in such high quantities that is the one they want out the door and they'll worry about everything else afterwards. Or the time they spend with the console versions informs what they want to do on the PC. All that said, it's the same philosophy in that by not acknowledging the PC version, a PC person might pick up an Xbox 360, an Xbox One, a PlayStation 3, a PlayStation 4 version of that game. It's all about encouraging increased sales on the versions you're selling, as opposed to getting people to wait for potentially what's coming down the line. Does that suck for PC players? Totally. Is it probably true? I would say that underscores a lot of it. Anonymous asks, Patrick, I dreamt about Potato Marshall. He Elm Street us. Patrick, you have to beware. That's terrifying. That is Potato Marshall. Come on. Come on. I don't know if you watch this, but if you watch this, stop invading our dreams. Also, Potato Marshall, if you're watching this, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Now I sound like a creepy monster in somebody's dreams. Woo. Anonymous asks, I bought Bloodborne after watching your stream. Hey, thanks for watching the stream. I can't get past the first boss. I've had to repair my weapon twice already. Am I just hopeless at this kind of game? Summon, dude. Or lady. I need to break out of that habit. Side note, apologies for using those kinds of words over and over again. I ran into an embarrassing moment on my Twitch stream not that often where I said, thanks for watching this, dude. And that person said, I am a lady. You know, one of the small bouts of sexism that we do is by getting so accustomed to guy-focused language. Saying, thanks, dude. Thanks, guys. You know, it's not the end of the world. I don't mean to make it seem like it's something bigger than it is. But when we use words like that, you know, if you're not a dude, it's kind of like, I'm not a dude. And that makes sense. So I'm trying to get that language out of my system. So apologies for the missteps along the way. All that said, I've had to repair my weapon twice already. Am I hopeless at this kind of game? No, you are not hopeless. Well, I guess you could be. I cannot be certain. But my guess is you are not, and that you are just facing the steep climb that we all face the first time we play one of these types of games. What I would say is that don't fall into the trap of, I have to play this game a certain way. I really dislike that sort of rhetoric. I push back on it as much as I can. There are certain ways I play these games, but that doesn't mean that's the way that other people should play these games. And I don't judge the fun that I extract from any game, Souls or not, as the measure of quality for how someone else should enjoy it. And what I would tell you is there are other people in the world that can help you, that can get you through that boss. And if that's going to allow you to see more of this game, do it. There is nothing wrong with playing that game co-op. There is nothing wrong with going through Bloodborne with someone at your side. It's a hard game. It is a really hard game. And if you're new to this stuff, you should just play it with someone else. Otherwise, look up tips. If you don't want to go all the way to the co-op route, look up how are people beating it. You know, the first boss in particular, you want to dodge to their left or right under their arms. I believe you want to dodge to their left arm or their right arm. I'm not sure. One of them is a weak arm that doesn't quite do its full sweep. Go under that arm, whack, whack, whack. Hit them a couple times with R1, back off, do the exact same thing. Don't back off too far because then the cleric beast will jump into the sky and come down on you. But those might spoil the game for yourself because ultimately you still have to hit the buttons. It doesn't matter what you look up. You still have to beat the game yourself, which is the true enjoyment of Bloodborne or any of those games. Coheed Jordan, I follow about 100 people on Twitter, and yet for some reason you're the one person that Twitter keeps making me spontaneously unfollow. Multiple times now, I have just happened to look and realize, weird, I'm no longer following Patrick Klepek. I just thought I'd let you know there's a Twitter conspiracy against you. Or Twitter just wants you to love me a little bit more over and over again. Please follow me. Do it. Anonymous asks, and this will be our last question as we close this out. I know it's been quite some time, but Ryan's death still affects me, and I was never as close to him as you. He's speaking of Ryan Davis, a former colleague of mine at Giant Bomb, who passed away a couple of years ago, tragically, not too long after his wedding. As someone who knew him personally, do you find it easier or harder to have his presence archived on the internet? To me, it makes it harder simply because it seems to be the embodiment of a ghost. He's accessible in a way that makes me never truly forget him. See, I disagree on all that stuff. I love the little reminders. It's really tough in the early days when you are struck with such sorrow, such overwhelming sorrow, that a friend of yours, someone you held dear to you, is no longer with us and is not coming back. And all the little reminders are just tiny daggers that just underscore the fact that they're not coming back. But over time, as you come to accept it is what it is, that life goes on, and that the memories of those people are something that degrade over time. We lose them. They become fuzzy. And I find that to be the most tragic part of losing someone. And so all these little digital reminders, these little digital footprints of the people who came before, the people that aren't with us anymore, I love them. You know what I love about this time of the year, as it's starting to warm up, the fact that it's 72 out? I'm going to blast the realest summer jams on Spotify as much as I can. I need to download that playlist because I'm afraid that's going to disappear at some point. But the fact that I can listen to one of the best curated playlists by one of my best friends who's no longer with us, that makes me happy. When someone retweets something that Ryan said, that makes me happy. I totally understand if you find that to be bothersome. I don't mean to tell anyone how they should feel about their grief or how they go through it. But for my money, I'm glad all that stuff exists, because the days where I forget because Ryan isn't around to remind me, I like that I occasionally come across things like that. And I know that he's there. And he was there. So it's only coffee, but to you, Ryan Davis, we miss you. But I know you're out there cackling and probably causing my dog to poop on the floor because it's something that would make you laugh. So, cheers. And that does it for 3 Beers Deep. Thank you so much for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe, like this, let me know what you think, ask questions below. Share this video with other people. It's only by getting that stuff out there that I can continue doing this, because if people aren't watching, what am I doing it for? If you want to listen to a podcast version, you can go to iTunes under Inventory Management, which is this, interviews, and other audio things that I've been producing for the last couple of months and for the months in the future. If you want to stream the episodes, download them, don't want to use iTunes, need an RSS feed to put into another podcast program, you can go to inventorymanagement.simplecast.fm. Has everything you need. Thanks so much. See you guys next week.